Kevin Costner uncovers the 9 real-life actors who were really evil. Behind the shiny veneer of Hollywood red carpets, standing ovations, and golden statues, there exists a dark underbelly most viewers will never get to experience. It is a universe of acrimonious feuds, poisonous egos, wounded egos, and silent betrayals cleverly masked beneath public smiles and scripted praise. Studio spin doctors work overtime to project an aura of harmony, assuring the world that Hollywood is a realm of respect and camaraderie. But those who have worked there for decades know better. The set story is usually far more complicated, sordid, and enlightening. Few stars have traversed these waters as honorably as Kevin Costner. For more than 4 decades, since the Untouchables and Dances with Wolves through his contemporary phenomenon Yellowstone, Costner has been an old-fashioned professional. He practices his craft with traditional seriousness, candor, and probity. Directors appreciate his preparation. Crews appreciate his dependability. And audiences feel that he is precisely what he seems to be, a straight shooter who prefers the work to silly drama. But keeping that sort of integrity in Hollywood is expensive. Costner's refusal to play games or excuse unprofessionalism has cost him the friendship of some of the industry's most iconic figures. While most actors turn a blind eye, shrug off bad acts, or sell out on their values to avoid conflict, Costner has stood firm. And 9 of them, in particular, intersected with him in ways that showed the seedy underbelly of fame over the years. If this kind of story touches your heart, if you're someone who cares about truth, responsibility, and speaking up for the voiceless, please like this video, subscribe to our channel, and share it with someone who should hear it. Let's get started. These are not tales of ego battles or rivalries galloping for attention. They are about profound variations in professionalism, morality, and truth. They expose who these stars actually were behind the cameras and when they were no longer under the public eye. From scheming co-stars and dictatorial directors to unstable personality traits and entourages that wreaked havoc, these experiences rip away the curtain on Hollywood's secret underbelly. Follow me, for the truth about these 9 actors is more stunning than any play they've ever acted in. 1. Sean Young, the co-star who became a stalker. Few Hollywood feuds are as strange or as creepy as the fight between actor Kevin Costner and actress Sean Young. Both of them starred together in the 1987 political thriller No Way Out, a production that started off with promise but soon developed into one of the industry's weirdest cautionary tales. On location, Young's mercurial behavior generated ongoing tension. Crew members remembered how her volatility sabotaged rehearsals, forcing Costner to fight to keep scenes intact. Though he tried his best to be professional, her volatility turned the shoot into something much harder than it needed to be. But the actual problems started when the cameras weren't rolling. According to several insiders, Young became what could only be characterized as obsessively fixated on Costner. She turned up unexpectedly at functions, staged encounters, and insisted on contact long after he indicated that he did not want to see her. Things got worse when Costner supposedly suffered property loss supposedly connected with Young's obsession. For a man reputed to be diplomatic to the point of indistinguishability, his on-the-record assertion that Young was unprofessional said a lot. Costner rarely spoke ill of colleagues, but in this instance he made an exception. Young's problematic reputation carried on into her interactions with Costner. Perhaps the most notorious episode in Hollywood lore involved her uninvited drop-by at Tim Burton's office, where she showed up in a homemade Catwoman costume, insisting on playing Catwoman in Batman Returns. The publicity stunt blew up in spectacular fashion and reinforced her reputation as volatile and challenging. While some of Young's antics might be explained by mental illness and merit sympathy, the effect on her coworkers was undeniable. For Costner, the line was clear: professionalism is key, and when that line is crossed, there are repercussions. The Costner Young debacle is a stark reminder of how weak set dynamics can be and how easily an exciting collaboration can devolve into disaster. 2. Oliver Stone, the director who twisted history. When Costner signed up to play in Oliver Stone's JFK, he was looking forward to playing a serious historical drama involving one of America's most turning moments. As someone who had a great respect for institutions and history, Costner entered into the character of New Orleans District Attorney Jim Garrison with seriousness and commitment. What he did not get himself into was the ideological conflict with his director. Stone was infamous for his inflammatory, revisionist interpretations of history. For him, story preceded fact, conspiracy preceded evidence. Costner, on the other hand, believed firmly that dramatizations owed their audience a commitment to fact. Their difference of philosophy soon became impossible to avoid. On location, cast members remembered how Costner would complain about period authenticity, only to be steamrollered by Stone's invocation of artistic license. Stone's authoritarian directorial manner, combative and brusque, only widened the divide. Costner perceived ego where he wanted accountability. Stone perceived creative freedom where Costner insisted on factual integrity. Although the movie was a hit with both critics and audiences, their off-screen controversy unveiled one of Hollywood's most profound ethical crises. Should filmmakers owe the public truth or only entertainment? Costner's insistence on not compromising on his morals branded him as one of the only performers who'd stand up even to an award-winning director when facts were involved. 3. Kevin Reynolds, when friendship drowned in troubled waters. A few of the most bitter Hollywood feuds start off on a positive note with friendship rather than hate. That was true with Kevin Reynolds, Costner's longtime collaborator. They struck it rich together with Robin Hood. Prince of Thieves in 1991. After a few rough patches, they gave one of the year's biggest box office hits and appeared to be the next golden collaboration team. But then Waterworld, the ambitious post-apocalyptic saga, swelled to one of the biggest productions ever, with budgets running amok and logistical horrors building up. As both star and producer, Costner had huge control and Reynolds seethed at what he perceived as interference. Things escalated when Reynolds walked off the production two-thirds through, famously remarking, "Kevin should direct it. He's already directing the actor, the camera, and himself." Costner ended up completing the beleaguered production, essentially validating Reynolds' charge of overreach. What had been a successful creative union crumbled under pressure from egos, stress, and money problems. Hollywood players were compelled to pick sides, and the two Kevins' relationship was shattered for decades. Their feud is one of Hollywood's most melodramatic illustrations of how pressure can undermine even the most powerful of connections. For Madonna, publicly ridiculed for being neat. Not all feuds need a movie set. Sometimes, one ill-considered remark can trigger a firestorm. Costner was at one of Madonna's concerts when she was touring under the moniker Truth or Dare in the early 1990s. Backstage, he made what he perceived was a nice compliment by saying her show was neat. Madonna, being the provocateur that she is, did not take it kindly. On her documentary Truth or Dare, she jeered at Costner on film, gagging herself and snarling, "Anyone who says my show is neat has to go." The incident embarrassed Costner in public and brought out starkly the contrast between their public images. For Madonna, rebellion and ridicule were what she was about. For Costner, honesty and courtesy were his trademark. The conflict was destined to be. While Madonna's fans jeered, Costner never forgot the affront. In a rare abandonment of diplomacy, he later explained to Barbara Walters bluntly, "I don't care much for her." 5. Robert Duvall, the clash of acting titans. When two legends meet, sparks fly. In Open Range, 2003, Costner wrote and starred with Robert Duvall in an intense western that asked both men to be at their best. But off-screen, their working relationship was not without kinks. Conflicts over billing set the tension from the beginning. Duvall allegedly wouldn't accept second billing, demanding equal billing. During filming, Costner's double role as star and director conflicted with Duvall's insistence on artistic independence. Costner demanded deference to his own ideas. Duvall wouldn't be anyone's second in command. Cast members recalled passionate arguments, but both men were consummate professionals when it came time to shoot. Their on-screen rapport was undeniable, proof of their skill at compartmentalizing personal tension. Open Range went on to win critical acclaim, but off-camera struggles highlighted just how challenging it is when two giants occupy the same space. 6. Marlon Brando, the legend Costner wouldn't trust. Not every feud originates in working together. Reputations, at times, can be more resonant than words. Kevin Costner and Marlon Brando never even worked together, although Brando had been considered for a part in The Untouchables. But Costner indicated he had no desire to participate in Brando's famous dysfunction. By the 1980s and 1990s, Brando was notorious for not learning lines, insulting directors, and requiring outrageous concessions. His sadistic behavior involved referring to director Frank Oz as Miss Piggy on the score and bullying Francis Ford Coppola on Apocalypse Now. Costner allegedly explained his sentiments in brief, "I just don't trust that energy." To a man who prized stability and professionalism, Brando was the opposite. By keeping his distance, Costner stayed clear of the train wrecks that other actors suffered. 7. Whitney Houston's entourage, keeping her away from the wrong people. Often the most ruining battles are not with the star themselves, but with the people around them. When Costner battled for Whitney Houston to lead in The Bodyguard, he envisioned her potential and desired to guard her legacy. What he did not expect was the barricade of handlers intent on protecting her from reality. Houston's entourage restricted rehearsals, excused her from duty, and covered up her escalating substance abuse issues. Costner became frustrated as he attempted to provide assistance, while Houston's entourage sabotaged his efforts. As producer, he even went so far as to edit the film himself in order to make Houston's performance stand out. Years afterwards, at her funeral, Costner gave a poignant eulogy, blaming none of her, but indirectly the individuals who let her down. The villains to him were not Whitney, but her enablers. It was one of the most personal and painful fights of his life. 8. Bruce Willis, a reputation that spoke for itself. Although Costner never directly worked with Bruce Willis, he was aware enough to avoid him. Willis's behavior reputation was the stuff of legend. From battles on Moonlighting with Sybil Shepherd to the dreadful time Kevin Smith had directing him on Cop Out, Willis left a series of frayed relationships in his wake. Costner allegedly said to a friend, "There's no room for people who destroy sets just to prove a point." To him, Willis represented all that was wrong with ego-based filmmaking, bullying crews,